The Birth of POSCO. How strongmen forged Korea's steel industry. POSCO is the name for what was formerly known as the Pohang Iron and Steel Company, a South Korean steelmaker that had a production of 39.94 million tons as recently as 2023. Data from the World Steel Association depicts that POSCO is the seventh largest steelmaker in terms of crude steel production in 2023, bringing in 72.69 trillion won on a market cap of over 42 trillion won. The idea of POSCO was born in the 1960s when the South Korean government declared that self-sufficiency in steel was an item of vital national interest, a key step in industrializing the country. The steel industry is distinguished from others because it supports many downstream industries by providing raw inputs. Steel is used in the automotive industry, shipbuilding, construction, defense, and a variety of other applications as a base material. For the government of South Korea, domestic steel production was a stepping stone to the nation's developmental goals and could provide the basis for South Korea to arm itself against the North at a time when the U.S. was flirting with the idea of withdrawing from the Korean peninsula. To build an integrated steelworks, Pohang was selected as the starting site. At this time, Pohang was an agricultural town of 67,000 inhabitants, and Korea was run by the General Park Chung-hee, a military man who had seized power just a few years prior. Park was well-read and had studied greatly Germany's Miracle on the Rhine, the development programs of China's Sun Yat-sen and Turkey's Kemal Pasha. Due to his time serving in the Japanese colonial military, the general was deeply influenced by Japan's development economics and sought to apply the same teachings to Korea. Park established an industrial policy based off the Japanese experience, and his government announced the construction of an integrated steelworks with an annual production capacity of 250,000 tons of pig iron and 220,000 tons of steel ingots to be carried out from 1962 to 1966. The initial program was not a cakewalk, however. The World Bank and the developed economies were reluctant to invest in Korea, which they saw as a small agricultural backwater plagued with the destruction of a recent war, political instability, and widespread poverty. To finance the undertaking, Park solicited the help of Park Tae-jun, a student of his from the Korean Military Academy and former general. The younger Park leveraged Korea's wartime claims against Japan, arguing the Japanese were obligated to provide funding for Korea's steel industry to make up for their exploitation of Korea. As a result of his efforts, Pohang's steel industry was started. The construction of the Pohang steelworks were undertaken with military efficiency. Each day, workers lined up in front of the site office and told that Japanese reparations money was being used to fund the project, and that it was preferable to die than suffer the humiliation of wasting the money. A temporary two-story wooden office was set up to oversee the project. It was nicknamed the Rommel House after General Rommel, the German military leader who was known for exceptional battle prowess. When selecting the site, the Korean government weighed a number of factors: the size of the site, the firmness of the soil, its ease of access to raw materials, and the ability to export steel. A railroad was built, and soon after roads and a dam, the latter would provide an ample supply of water for POSCO to use. A port would allow for the shipping of product and raw materials. The government purchased the land and built employee housing. If this massive project was to succeed, large numbers of skilled workers would have to be brought in, and accommodations were made to provide for these workers' families as well. A relationship with Nippon Steel was made so that technology and the company's technical expertise could be brought in. Similarly, Yawata Steelworks, Fuji Steel Corporation, and Nippon Kokan KK promised to provide technological support for the project, and the JG, the Japan Group, brought in large numbers of personnel to assist the Koreans. The Australian miner BHP was assigned to review the Japanese engineering reports and provide advice on the gathering of equipment. Finally, a Korean steel specialist who had studied in Japan was brought in to assess the validity of both the Japanese and Australians. At the outset, profitability and cost competitiveness were accounted for. The reverse construction method, where construction is completed in reverse order, was just one step towards this goal. A blast furnace, steel mill, and rolling mill were built, following the order in which steel products are produced. When the construction team finished with their work, the company immediately started production, importing half-finished products and running them through the machines they had available. Likewise, the construction period was shortened, both in order to meet the country's rising demand for steel and to begin delivering returns on invested capital. Each phase saw the initial plant grow, and the Pohang Iron and Steel Company grew with it. An uncompromising commitment to quality drove the company's management, to the point where facilities were torn down if they did not comply with company standards. As we will see, it was this commitment to quality that let POSCO develop into an international player.